Robertson lived with a roommate who is described as transgender with whom he had a romantic relationship. So I will say that I was probably incorrect about that specific thing.
Name me a left-wing government, since you're saying there is no right in... Give me historically a true left-wing government. The Bolsheviks? Soviet Union?
The government of Uruguay today.
The government of Uruguay today. Do they enact violence?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. So the argument...
The violence that is that goes inextricably tied with enforcement, it's not a win for you.
I would say
that
I would say that if you want to play fast and loose with definitions of left and right, the governments that we can see that would be easily identified as left, such as the Bolsheviks and the Soviet Union, Mao and the Great Leap Forward, led to hundreds upon hundreds of millions of people dying. This is not what the prompt is talking about. The prompt is clearly talking about non-state actors of violence. Your conspiracy theories and hatred of Trump exercising legitimate authority is worthless.
Nothing of the prompt limits. You don't want to use this because it's a very big defeater for your position. I get that.
Lawful use of state authority is not the violence that we're talking about.
That's my point. That when ICE is kidnapping American citizens,
name them.
They're not.
Name them.
They're not enacting violence.
Name them.
I'm sorry, they're not enacting the law, which is political violence, and you want to run away from it.
Name the American citizen. Name the American citizen that's been kidnapped with a black bag over their head. Go ahead.
In the last couple of weeks, ICE has shot a priest with a pepper ball in Portland, violently tackled and arrested a journalist documenting a raid in Portland, and tear-gassed a birthday party full of children in Chicago.
What you're doing is reading left-wing sources that don't have the context list. What we see is when we look into this, for example,
left-wing sources.
The priest was at a place that was lawfully declared a riot that people were asked to leave, and he was there. And as police were pushing back against, it would be no different than if I said this. Did you know there was a priest at January 6th that was hit with tear gas? And you'd be like, holy fuck, that's terrible. Yes, if a priest was there when there were clashes with violent left-wingers and law enforcement, yes, there's a chance that they'll get hit with the munitions that the police are using to beat them back. Now, let's compare
Violently tackled and arrested a journalist documenting a raid in Portland. What about that one?
Yes, Antifa frequently calls themselves journalists. For example, we could see the story that came out of Chicago. Let me finish. We could see the example that came out of Chicago where there was a woman that worked for WGN, and she was billed as a journalist, and they threw her on the ground, and her pants were around her buttocks, and they were saying, oh my gosh, this woman's a journalist that was attacked brutally. What we saw was, what happened was, this was a person that literally threw a beverage at an ICE vehicle that was driving by in a dangerous situation. She was then lawfully arrested. But the media ran with the story and said, here was an innocent journalist that did nothing, that ICE just decided to throw to the ground. What happens is these journalists oftentimes are Antifa or Antifa sympathetic, or they're in the crossfire when there are law enforcement trying to push back against the violent lefties that are attacking. And then people like you read these stories from places like CNN and say, oh my goodness, this is attack against innocent people.
And do you have any evidence for all that you just said?
I just gave you the entire story of the woman from WGN.
Yeah, I mean...
Yeah, you claimed something, you got any evidence?
I don't know if you know how this works. But I asked you, do you have any evidence for all of that lovely yapping that you just said?
I'm reading right here from a blog post that said Joe Biden is... Wait.
Got it.
Wait. I'm reading right here from a blog...
That's three. I got you 2 hand-wave dismissals, and now we're quoting from a blog post. Got it.
I don't know what you're trying to say. I don't understand if it's your accent or your stupidity.
It's okay.
Nonetheless, it would be no different if I said this. I'm reading from a blog post that said that Joe Biden claimed that he's a lefty. He personally attacked right-wing journalists all the time using violence and pepper spray. And this same blog post says that, trust me, all the journalists that are claimed to have been attacked under Trump weren't really journalists and it was justified. There you go. There's my evidence. That's what you're doing.
Mr. Miyagi would be really proud of you with all that hand wave dismissing.
I'm going to, seeing as how this is going nowhere, I'm going to read some examples of left-wing violence just recently. We had the assassination of Charlie Kirk. We had the attack on
That was not left out. Hold on. That was not verified as left-wing violence. There is, and let's be clear, unbiased from outside, there is zero evidence to suggest the person that shot Charlie Kirk was left-wing. If anything, he came from a right-wing, Trump-loving, gun-loving family. There is zero evidence that has been verified to suggest the shooter of Charlie Kirk was left-wing. Let's please not do that, because that's disrespectful.
Yeah, a lot of right-wingers have trans girlfriends.
So, well, now, instead
There's
of
no
sparking
evidence
out,
he had a trans girlfriend either. There is no evidence that is true.
now
Are you
instead of
sure?
sparking... Go ahead, Grid.
And
I mean, whenever the Republicans go to a city, they crash Grinder. Is that the measure that we're like, because someone had a trans girlfriend that now counts as a...
The assassination of Charlie Kirk's left-wing violence. We have the parents of the family
No,
and
that's
the
not.
person they were taking. Please, you threw a big fit when you said people were interrupting you.
yeah, but
I've
you're
been
lying. You're literally lying. You can't just lie to people with something as disgusting as that. Someone died, and let's not lie about it.
The assassination of Charlie Kirk was done by a left-winger.
Well,
we know that
No, it was not. That's a lie.
You can confirm that afterward.
Okay.
Hold on. If you believe he's lying,
they
then
seem to be living in a world
state
where
that afterwards.
only
Let's
they
let him
see-
state his case.
The assassination of Charlie
I'm
Kirk
handing
was
it back to
done. Was
Robert just to state his case, and then you guys can respond.
The assassination of Charlie Kirk was a left-wing act of violence. We know that this is the most likely case because, one, they used the language of the left calling him a fascist. This is not something that people on the right would use to attack someone like Charlie Kirk. Second, we have examples from the family of these shooters saying that they became scary radical left. Third, we know that the roommate was someone that the family of them said was becoming scary radical left. Fourth, we see that he wrote to his transgender lover that lived with him and that we know that because it was trans that the scenario is that they're most likely left. All of this is more evidence than almost every example that the studies like CISA will use to say that there are examples of right-wing violence, and yet he repeats them without cause. So one, we have the Charlie Kirk. Second, we have the attack on an ICE facility in Dallas where they were shooting ICE agents that resulted in the deaths of 2 detainees. Third, we have the Antifa attack in Dallas against ICE also in July that resulted in law enforcement getting shot in the neck. Next, we have the attack on an ABC affiliate that was pissed off and they shot in...
Too far. Because you have quite a bit there.
Every time.
We could probably maybe respond to a few of those. Hold on.
Yeah.
So
So if
hold
I
on,
could
Max,
just
if we-
respond
yeah,
to
we
the
can
Charlie
respond
Kirk
to
one.
maybe a couple of those, and then we'll let you continue on.
If I could just do
Sure,
one,
let's
Max,
start
and
there,
then
and we'll try to move through
right.
some of the examples that Robert gave.
So literally everything that he said about the Charlie Kirk shooting was incorrect. The Charlie Kirk shooting rumor about the suspect having a trans lover was pushed by tabloids but disputed and then rolled back by many more reliable outlets. So there's literally zero
Give me the
evidence
outlet.
of that.
Give me the outlet that rolled it back. Go ahead.
There's Wall Street Journal quietly walks back false claim Charlie Kirk shooter had a pro-trans message on his book. So there we go.
Where does that?
Right,
Wait.
Now, if I can finish my response without you splurging out, that'd be great.
So that wasn't what you claimed. Gotcha.
Literally was what I claimed.
You said that they said that he didn't have a trans lover. Now you're saying Wall Street Journal rolls back claim that he wrote trans message on the bullets. That's not the same claim that you made.
Let me read the whole thing to you. That framing is amplified by commenters eager to draw a connection with transmitted people, Justice Department officials stressing that the bulletin's detailed. Blah, blah. New York Times reported that there is no evidence that ammunition. No, there's nothing in there about him having a trans partner.
But you said they rolled it back.
They didn't.
Right. Okay, I'll get the other sources for that one.
Everybody knows. What do you think?
One. Let me get the other one. Hold on. Give me a sec to get the other source.
While you're looking at, what do you think he meant when he said "catch this fascist"? That was a right winger saying that? A centrist? But he wrote that in the bullet. What do you think?
Wait, do you think that you can be a right wing and also hate fascists?
Sure, that's a possibility. However, overwhelmingly, the people that use language like calling someone like Charlie Kirk a fascist are left-wingers. The propensity evidence is overwhelming. Why haven't you guys done this much research and all the studies you're citing, and you just accept when you say, trust me, when CISA says it's a right-winger, it is. I just went through examples of how CISA was flawed and the Persecution Project was flawed in their mischaracterization.
I didn't mention CISA.
Of course you did. That's your entire opening statement was using data from CISA.
For Charlie Kirk, I haven't mentioned CISA.
I didn't say you did. I said that you just say CISA says
but
therefore
I didn't
it's
just
true.
use CISA though. No, I didn't just say CISA.
He used the ADL and FBI
I
as
used
well.
CISA, ADI, Department of Homeland Security, the AELDL. I used 8 different sources.
No, you didn't.
And the New York Post his trans lover.
Let's hear the quote.
Charlie Kirk, suspect trans lover, Lance Twig, blah blah. I hate the way these fucking pages are. It's like 95% adverts, and you're trying to find the actual.
You are aware that the official story is that this shooter actually wrote to this trans person, and said, "Yeah, I'm sorry, I did this," or text them. You're aware of that, correct? Or is that made up? Did they roll that back as well?
I can't find the exact quotes right now. I would have to.
Shame.
Craig had made the claim that media outlets had rolled back their previous claims of having a left-wing lover.
Right, okay.
A trans lover, I'm sorry.
I'm going to correct myself. The rollback was actually to do with the messages written on regarding the trans stuff, not the specific one had rolled back. The suspect, Tyler Robertson, according to the Utah state official media, Robertson lived with a roommate who is described as transgender with whom he had a romantic relationship. So I will say that I was probably incorrect about that specific thing being rolled back. What was rolled back was whether there was trans motives and stuff written on the bullets. That was the thing that was rolled back. So I was incorrect. I retract my statement.
Okay, so the preponderance of evidence shows that this was from a left-winger. If we want to stop on each one of these, that's fine. The attack...
Although you are making the assumption that because he had a trans partner, he was left-wing, that's not true. I know right-wingers that are trans, so, I mean...
Name me the right-winger you know that would have called...
I'm not going to tell you my friend's name.
No. Let me put it this way. You're telling me that you know a right-winger who is dating a trans person that would have called Charlie Kirk a fascist.
Yeah.
I don't believe you.
I don't care if you don't believe me.
It's obvious that this was the preponderance of evidence overwhelmingly suggests this was a left-winger. Next, the attack on
the fact that the evidence shows that he came from a right-wing family, from a Trump.
So did Destiny,
from a gun-loving family.
Yes, so did Destiny. Is he a right-winger?
All of his upbringing, everything about him was right-wing.
I just want to be clear.
A trans partner, that is literally the only thing that could be classified as left wing when that's not true.
That's not true at all. The rhetoric that he's talking about him being a fascist, the people that were interviewed that said that he was becoming left wing, that the trans person was left wing, right? All of this, and the only evidence you have that might not be the case is he came from a right wing family. Are you aware that many children rebel against the politics and the ideology of their parents?
Yeah, but do you have any evidence that he did? Because
yes, I've cited
him and people that knew him and reported and said that he was right wing.
I just hope that
being left wing.
Show me the reports of someone saying that he's right wing.
Would show me the reports of people saying that knew him that he was left wing.
Okay.
No, you can't because there isn't any.
Go ahead, Grid.
So, yeah, there's publicly reported case where right-wing political shooting suspect lived with a transgender partner. And that's, I mean, everything about him and everything, his upbringing, everything shows that he was right-wing.
Robinson's parents and relatives described him as having been raised in a conservative Christian household, but spiraling into liberal or leftist views after high school. They cited his adoption of progressive stances on issues like the LGBTQ+, environmentalism, and anti-capitalism. One family member told local outlet, i.e. the Arizona Republic, that he had become radicalized online by left-leaning content, including exposure to socialist influencers and anti-conservative rhetoric. That's from the Independent.
He posted pro-Trump and anti-liberal memes on social media accounts. Investigators recovered writings expressing anti-government, anti-immigration views, plus conspiracy material linked to far-right message boards. No evidence he had any connection to Antifa, BLM, or leftist causes. Prosecutors described his beliefs as anti-government and extremist in nature.
What are you reading that from?
From gathered reports. And honestly, this is the AI overview in Google. but it takes, the links I can go.
I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say under this. I'll make 2 points on this. One, the interrogation that you'll do with this obvious attack that came from someone from the left wing on Charlie Kirk, one, shows the audience just how far you're willing to go to downplay left wing violence. And secondly, the fact that you're willing to look at this as charitable as possible to deny the reality. And yet, at the same hand, the evidence you have for right wing violence comes from sources which I've already read to you are laughably inaccurate in how they characterize right wing violence. And you haven't done any interrogation on that data whatsoever. You've just taken it at blind faith and said, this is what they say, therefore it must be true. Shows that you're not interested in actually dissecting the actual motivations and having a serious conversation on this.